archaic behemoth, noisy, is not the solution. So when I first saw rail, I saw this go downhill fast.
Thank you, Councilmember
Vote
Burr.
no.
We know your position.
The reason that I feel I need to vote no is because I don't buy the argument that property taxes won't be raised. So in your group, do you really buy that argument? There absolutely will be no property tax increases as long as this rail's running. What do you think?
But as of now, we believe that there is no increase in property tax.
At these scoping meetings that I also attended, I asked, are you going to have transit police? Are you going to have transit security? And when you followed this 4 years ago to today, do you see a breakdown in cost for a brand new police force?
Absolutely
security?
not.
Is it in here?
Absolutely, I don't see any.
Either do I. In the full funding grant agreement, I don't see any security for the rail line. Is that missing from this ledger, or is it in-house that there will be a security for the stations and the rail line itself?
We'll have closed-circuit television.
Councilmember Burr.
Question. Would you say then that the rail project is a scavenger on the bus?
I think they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're Peter, they're robbing the bus to go towards the rail.
What's the status of your looking into a civil rights breach on the lessening of service of bus routes? Have you had any?
I'm filing a discrimination complaint based on my civil rights as low income.
And anywhere in this full funding grant agreement, they have costs of what's called a contingency fund. So if you were to then go to court, and let's assume that you won, do you see anything here in the schemata and any spreadsheet, any ledger? Do you see anything that says in the event that you can't use bus fund money, you can't take and scavenger off bus service, where will the money then come from?
It doesn't say, but according to this, from 2010 to 2030, $955 million. 0.38 is from 5307 funds. That's almost $1 billion they're trying to take from 5307 that's supposed to be for the bus.
Thank you.
Sure.
As you know, there was a brand new transit station for buses just across the street, and we can't afford to have a bathroom for the public there. Are these 21 stations going to have a restroom available to the public?
We have plans to have restrooms at the stations, and I think part of the community dialogue that we want to have is do we want to have them available not just for personnel or emergency situations, but for the public, and certainly I'd be open to having those discussions.
We've been told in the EIS 40,000 people, 40,000 cars will be forfeited, but we only have 1,900 parking stalls for the entire leeward coast. So what will the charge be to parking in a parking structure?
Right now we contemplate no cost to charge at those parking structures.
But the small print for Honolulu said, Honolulu, when we had a guy named Mayor Harris, it was proven buses beat rail. It was proven in the studies. And so the legislature put fine print in House Bill 1309 and did not give this county home rule. And the voters really thought that rail was the best product and voted for it because they really didn't see that fine print. Because in the fine print, anything that leaves the fixed guideway, the state legislature says you can't have money because they knew in the studies buses beat rail. That clause prevented a toll road, tunneling, buses, anything that left the guideway that could move goods, services, and freight. The fact that the legislature passed and it became Act 247 and said you don't get home ruled, you can't have highway technology, that was the most deceptive thing that makes this thing wrong. That's what makes this of ill will, because they didn't act in good faith, and I can't condone acting in bad faith. Please vote no with me and do it right, Mahalo.
Thank you, Councilmember Burr. Okay, members, we're going to take the vote. Any objections? Any objections to Resolution 322 being reported up for adoption? Noting the objection from Councilmember Burr. Any reservations, members? One reservation from Councilmember Kobayashi. So this matter has been reported out for adoption. So ordered. Okay? There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Members, any objections to adopting Resolution 12-322? Noting one objection from Councilmember Berg. Any reservations, members? Noting two reservations from Councilmember Monahan and Councilmember Kobayashi. Committee Report 411 and Resolution 12-322 have been adopted.
The entire balancing of the budget to say we won't need to raise property taxes is because 40% coming from the fare box is in ridership. So if your numbers are incorrect, if your numbers are exaggerated, if the numbers don't pan out, and you don't get to that threshold, what's your plan B so that property taxes aren't raised? If you're not getting it at the fare box and you have free parking or whatever, how are you going to make up that money?
I would just say that, again, based on my professional experience and looking at the numbers that we have here in the plan, and I know we've disagree on the assessment of those numbers. When I look at the density of travel along that corridor, when I look at the success of the bus as it attempts to try to get people moving through that dense corridor with tremendous traffic, I believe just the opposite. I think that we're going to have more ridership than we expect, and that we're going to really see this be a tremendous success.
This thing kept going through a metamorphosis every other week. Right now, I can tell you that when I went to scoping meeting, they says, we're going to have a transit security police. And I just found out today, it's not budgeted. People want a warm body to protect them. A security camera can't protect you. Okay? So, some of the things that are before us when we can't even afford a restroom for the public at the transit bus station across the street, we can't even afford it. The issue before us today is, do you want the full funding grant agreement? Because once you take it and say yes, you're locked in. And what I'm saying is I'm not comfortable locking in. The next councilwoman-elect who comes here is. And you guys can all have your 9 to nothing and swim the same ship. Swim in the same ship. But that's why I said swim in the ship, because it will sink. The reason that I have to again vote no is because everything about this is not fiscally sound. The $450 million line of credit was after the vote. The taking of the bus funds was after the vote. The raising the debt service ceiling after the vote. The then taking the percentage of 11 to 19% from all transit operations after the vote. And what you've just been told by the HART director is that the ridership is maybe even going to exceed. Now, remember this. Minneapolis, Portland, Charlotte, Denver, Phoenix, cities with a bigger demographics geographically than us, they're only getting 20,000 a day to ride that rail. 20,000, and they said they were going to have 80 to 100,000. It didn't pan out, and guess who eats it and makes up the difference? The taxpayer. And so at this time, I'm going to conclude with, there's no mechanism in here. There's no language. I know you can't hold future councils accountable for this, but there should be something in here that says we guarantee there'll be no property tax. None. There will absolutely, once you go down on this, there will be no coming back and raising property taxes. And if you don't know and you're not sure, then this isn't a good deal. Because right now, I think it's more important we be able to flush our toilet, pay that sewer, EPA mandate, and that's